there's so much foreign influence that is malevolent, I guess you can say, and people fall for it. But I think when you give these influencers that, like, I guess you could say, like, a good chunk of money, they're willing to, like, say whatever, and they do it in lockstep. And
like Tim Pool taking money from RT.
Yes, I think he's a great example, and I do think that, like, a lot of people. Here's the one thing, I'm like rather like libertarian when it comes to my values. Like, I don't care about like what you do in your private life and all of that stuff. But where the fuck was I going with this? When it comes to,
you say you don't want black people to move into your neighborhood.
No, I didn't say that. But anyways, it's.
I think a more likely scenario would be him moving out of his neighborhood to be around people he prefers.
Yeah. I forget my point.
I hear what you're saying, and what I'm realizing is that we need to. It kind of got to the point where we're like, fuck everybody. We're not going to reach across the aisle. All of the Democrats or whatever, they're all pieces of shit. And now it's like, if something happens where the right is being manipulated and doing extreme things, and listening to these guys like Scott Horton and stuff, we will need to reach across the aisle, because those guys will actually sabotage us, which is their goal. And Tim Pool was being sabotaged. They didn't ask him to change his content, but a few weeks before the election, all of a sudden it was exposed. And then the left-wing media was like, look, Trump supporters are getting money from Russia and all this stuff. Like, that mistake on their part basically resurrected the whole Russian collusion thing. And it was a huge, it could have been a huge blow. So that was suspicious. I think they paid those guys, and then they self-snitched so that they could have that bad press and stuff. And the Lauren Chen, I was saying it earlier, Lauren Chen and all those people were not supporting Trump. They were sabotaging Trump. So yeah, we gotta. I think the lesson is that we need to reach out across the aisle and find more allies and be more proactive.
Well, the other thing that I would caution you is believing that people like Scott Horton have a loud voice. He influences a party that can get somewhere between 0.5% to 3% in a national election. So and he's got influence over maybe 60% of those folks, and so. He's not the boogeyman that we have to worry about. He's definitely a fucking piece of shit, but he just doesn't have the power. What we have to worry about is if that messaging crosses over into people that actually have charisma or get platformed in a way where that messaging could grow. I definitely think that there's some subversive elements that we have to keep an eye on, but I wouldn't give guys like Scott Horton more credit than they do.
Agreed.
Can we all agree that this is a wonderful development? That the fact that the IRGC's days are numbered, that this is a great development for all of humankind. Like, is anybody in disagreement with that?
No, I agree.
I disagree.
Okay, great. Okay, look. Everyone, stay on mute. Let's hear the disagreeable position. This is what happens when you enter the muff. You're free to speak your mind in the muff. So go ahead, Wayfan. Tell us why you did.
So I really want to take as a step back, and I hope that in the month we can have the courage to listen to this. So as an ex-Iranian, we have to see why this whole situation started in the first place. The father of this Prince of